when I started this whole journey and not knowing why I was doing what I was doing and all the personal development, I've been in the personal development world for over 21, 22 years now, and never thought that I'd be doing what I'm doing today. Totally never thought it. If I say I didn't think of it, I even balked. I was told to be doing this as service years and years ago, but I still wasn't willing to do it. So what I did is I can relate to everybody's trees because I think there's a part of us in every tree. Would you agree? Right? And at the beginning, when I had started my journey of self-discovery and learning to love myself, I realized that, I wanted to help other people. So I started volunteering through Tony Robbins' world. So I've been volunteering for 21 years. And I spent on average 1 month to 3 months a year working and volunteering for him through his programs. So I'd be going to Hawaii for 2-3 weeks a year. I know it's like hard to do, but I was willing to take that risk and go there and volunteer my services, or California or wherever it was, the events, and I went. And it wasn't until I also had been in OA and I sponsored people. It was always about service. It was always about giving back because I really believed that because God had given to me, it was my position to help give to others and help others. That is and still is my belief system. But what was interesting about it is this piece of my journey was never in my plans. Has anybody ever done somewhere they are now and it was never in their plans? Like totally, I know you, that was totally out of your plans. And what ends up happening for me is I've been in corporate for years, and then I went into entrepreneurship and started my own businesses and did really well. But I never really saw myself doing what I'm doing now, because when I got rid of my disease, and by the way, disease to me is dis-ease with oneself. It's just a disease. It's just somebody who doesn't like themselves, and they just need to remove that dis-ease, right? That's all it was. And anything, whether it's alcohol or gambling or food or shopping, it's just a dis-ease with ourselves, because if we loved ourselves, we wouldn't find other vehicles to make ourselves feel better. That's all it is. Depression is a dis-ease with yourself. Anxiety is a dis-ease with yourself. They all run together. And what ended up happening is, through this journey, when my stepson had some challenges, my stepson ended up getting involved with pot and other things. He got himself in trouble and had babies really young, made us grandparents. I got my goal. My goal was to be sexy grandma, like, yay. Got 2, 3 and 8, that's really too young. But the idea is that, this was part of our journey. And in helping Sean, I decided I wanted to bring him into the environment because he finally was open to getting help. And because of it, I'm sitting in a room with 6,000 people, and I'm there, and I've already been through this program only like 20 times already. And, I always find it interesting. People go to something once, and they think, I've already done that. But yet, they don't realize, have you ever watched a movie more than once? Right? Don't you see different things each time? Did they change the movie at all? No. It's where we're at and what we see. So I have a tendency to go back to things because I revisit it, because where I was at that moment might have been different from where I am later, right? So I go to the event, and I said, this time, instead of volunteering, I'm going to sit in the room. And I sat in the room, and I actually sat in the room because I wasn't sure if Yardley and Sean would stay. And I needed to make sure if we're investing in making them there, if I was sitting next to them, higher probability they'll stay in the room. If I was to be honest. That's why I sat. And it's like, I could afford a ticket, I'm sitting in the room. So I ended up sitting, but all of a sudden I hear about this PLAT program, this Platinum Partner Program, and it's like Tony's higher level mentorship, all about, raising to a higher level, changing your peer groups, doing all the other stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I'm really doing well in my career. We do very well. We're not in debt. We're financially secure. Everything is really good. But I feel like I was missing something. And I was actually missing a new peer group who I wanted to raise me above and push me a little more. Didn't know I'd be pushed this far. And I was looking for something else. And I ended up hearing him talk about the PLAT program, and he says $65,000. And my heart went, well, that's out. All of a sudden, my head made a decision, it's out. Do you know what I'm talking about? We make a decision, we hear a number, and all of a sudden we disqualify ourselves. We're not worthy. And I was like, where'd that come from? I'm totally worthy. But for a moment, I thought if I was single, that's not a big deal. But I have a husband. Now I find out $65,000 was the right to play, but it wasn't the program. We can go to the stuff, but if we want to go to the private things with Tony, it was $10,000 additional for each trip. And it was only 100 people, so it wasn't 6,000. So you get in close proximity and mentored by this amazing man that gets $1 million an hour to coach you. So I'm thinking 65,000 versus $1 million an hour. I'm getting a deal, right? I'm totally there. And I'm talking to everybody. I'm saying, how much is this really going to cost me? Give me some numbers. I really need help. And so somebody says to me, well, plan about 125,000. You got to pay for hotels and airfare and all the other stuff. 125,000. So I'm over there. I come back and I talk to Yardley, and I call him Handsome. I don't call him Yardley. You can call him Yardley, but to me, he doesn't answer if I do that, so I have to call him Handsome. Another story. So I talk to Handsome, and I said, I said, Handsome, I can see, here's how I think. I go, I can make this money back in 1 year, because this is how I do. Everything's an investment. So I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to start a new business. It had nothing to do with this. I'm going to start a new business, and I'm going to make the money back in 1 year. This is my thinking. So then I decide to go, and I come back, and I get this black envelope, and I walk up to him, and I'm ready to go. I sit down, and he goes, well, when are we going? Who's we? You said me. He says, you always make your investment, you always get it back. It was we. He goes, well, I'll go with you and I'll hang out until you're done with the event, and then we'll hang out after. I go, no, this is Tony. He doesn't have hours. Like he has 16, 18-hour days. There's no we. You're not coming. He says, well, I was going to carry your luggage. I go, like I guess somebody else. Like, it's not you. So all of a sudden, one of the platinum partners I wanted to raise my peer groups turns around and says, Lisa, you can't go without him. You guys work together. I'm like, yeah? He goes, well, how are you going to go? And he kind of I'm using my analogy. He used another one I didn't understand. But he said, it's like going to school to be a pilot. You get the license. You become the pilot, and you come home and you go, okay, honey, you fly. You're going to die. He doesn't know how to fly. He didn't go to the school. So I said, oh, my God, I got to go back. So then I go and sign us both up. I'm like, $250,000. I didn't have $250,000. We finally got out of debt. Like, we were finally on the way out of all the stories, and all the stuff going on. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do $250,000? Then my husband, amazing man that he is, he tells me every time he does things for me, June, he goes, I'm doing it for you. So when he decides that we have to stay at the Four Seasons, honey, it's for you. I want to treat you right. I'm okay not being at the Four Seasons. I want everybody to know that. But Yardley says, I'm doing it for you, honey.
What a guy.
What a guy, right, Roy? What a guy. And I'm like, Handsome, I don't need that, right? Ding, ding, ding. For himself, not for me. This woman's not counting the points. I become very masculine when it comes to money, So I might be getting 20,000 points for saying no. He's thinking he's getting 1 point for saying yes, no. So here's what happens. We go through this thing, and we decide we're both going to do it. And it was an amazing year together. It was absolutely amazing. You're going to meet one of the next speakers after lunch who just will take your breath away when you learn what she's going to give the men and the women in the room to get us back into our feminine essence and the power we have there. But we made some amazing friends there. And because of this one gentleman, Milton, we made a decision to do this year together. So now we're off to Egypt. And Lauren Slocum, who's been with Tony for 21 years, I know her from the very beginning. She was there through my whole journey. From the beginning, when I fell apart at the Dickens process and the whole start of everything. And every year she'd call me up, have me come to Hawaii or California, to always be calling me. And she says to me, we're in Egypt, we're in the hotel, and we're having a conversation. And she says to me, you're playing small. And I was shocked, because if you knew me, I never played small. I've always been unbelievably successful. I'm serving, I'm contributing. Like, how could you tell me I'm playing small? But she said, you're playing small. It's like, okay, so I'm there. And then she says to me, you're supposed to be helping women. And I said, no, I teach people how to make money. She says, no, you're supposed to be helping women. And I start crying. I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm crying. And then she says, well, let's see. And she does kinesiology on me. Anybody know what kinesiology is? It's muscle testing, because your body knows everything. And she says, no, you're supposed to be doing both. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not supposed to be doing both. Because I had a story that if people knew my past, they would judge me. That if they knew my past, that I would have to hear everybody's stories, and I didn't want to go back into the world of shame and blame and stories, and I thought it would pull me back in. And I was so indignant about the fact that, no, this is not even an option. I am not doing this. And at this point, I'm already doing this for 16 years, helping other people. But nobody who knew me in my business career knew I was doing that. So I can kind of like turn it off. I take care of thousands of people in a week, and then I go home and nobody would know what I did. Does this make sense? So years and years of doing this. And she said, no, this is what you're supposed to do. And I said, no. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, a year later, I go to sleep, I wake up one morning, and out of nowhere, I come downstairs and I said to my husband, I said, handsome, I'm supposed to save lives. I said, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but that's what I'm supposed to do. I said, I'm no longer doing any of our other businesses. You need to do that. This is what I'm going to do. And then it was like, I get on the computer, and it was very interesting. Dr. Walker, one of our peers, took a picture of when Lauren and I were talking. He just happened to tag it that day. And it was me crying. He took a picture and he tagged my shoes. And it was, I recognized the boots and Lauren, and I go looking through his album and I see the picture of me crying. And I write to him, I said, why didn't you tag the other pictures? He goes, I didn't think you'd like it because you were crying. I go, but you put it on Facebook. Like, really? Like, you put it out there on Facebook. But to me, it was actually an affirmation that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I had just made that decision, and I just saw this tag. And I was like, okay, God, I got it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So the what came first, the how came second. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew what I was going to do. And what I realized is that all the stuff that had happened all these years, whether it be through hospitalizations or therapy or self-help, whether I was following Deepak Chopra or Wayne Dwyer or Tony Robbins or all the others, I've actually listened to over 500 books on tape. And I've spent, not to scare anybody, I've spent over $500,000, I think I'm up to $750,000, but we won't talk about it, on my education after college to figure out the one thing I had was what's wrong with me. To find out there's nothing wrong with me. But I invested heavily to find the answer to what's wrong with me. And when I figured it out, it was more of the fact that I just wasn't given the right tools and resources to be able to stop the behaviors that I was doing, because logically I knew it wasn't working, but I had no idea how to physically change it. And I needed more help. And then I said, okay, when I made the decision to do this, I've also studied with a lot of the masters that Tony studied with. I studied with Dr. Bandler, I'm a licensed master NLP prac and trainer, which means I work with neuro-linguistic programming and our brain and how we say things and how we think. And even created the neuroscience of neuroassociative programming, because as well as what we do, we have to program it. You can program a computer, and how many people get new computers every couple years? How come we don't get new brains? We're still running on an operating system that is so old that we don't realize why it's not functioning optimally, because you're operating on an operating system when you're 5, 10, or 15 years old, and when you're 30, 40, 50, it doesn't run the same way. There are different rules, there are different needs, and nobody thinks about that. So I said, okay, this has to change. And I looked at everything I've done and what worked and what didn't, and ended up putting together an amazing program of understanding where the beliefs come from, but I don't care where they came from as much as how to change them. Isn't that what was important this morning? How are we going to change this? How can we feel even better all the time? Because we started working with one, but I know there's a lot of other pieces that we have to still work on. There's a lot of other roots in that tree that need to be plucked out and get some new things, because you cut a limb off the tree, it's going to grow a new limb from the same root. We need to get rid of the roots. Makes sense, right? So through the program, I put together a 10-week transformational program. It's all through the internet, so it doesn't matter where you live, because I have people here from Massachusetts and Connecticut and Philadelphia and New York, all over. It doesn't matter, because we're all online. And I did something very different. I did something in a group environment, because I found out that, and where is she, Gina? That I thought I was terminally unique. See, I was special too, that no one had problems quite as bad as mine. So I realized that when I put it in a group, that people would realize you're not terminally unique, you're just like other people, which means now, okay, we got that done, because you think my problems are worse than yours, right? Nobody else deals with this. We got that done. Now we can work on this stuff and get rid of it, right? We need to do that. So through that, we put together some programs. You learn. You're being educated. We meet weekly. It's unbelievable. And then what we do is we do a weekend retreat. So the whole 10 weeks is really working on your relationship with yourself, your fear of success or failure, your doing of depression or anxiety or PSTD, right? Or I think that's what it was, and other things, right? We work on all that stuff. And then after we work on all that stuff, then we come together for a weekend. And the people you're meeting here today, I want you to know that they're part of that weekend. I mean, in an excessive level, you have no idea. They're quite amazing, where we go into things on relationships, huge about relationships and understanding how to grow really unbelievable relationships and passionate ones and loving ones, and to put it out there and also have it. We go into getting back into our femininity. You'll get to meet Jen and understand why we know she's so amazing. But a lot of us women have turned very masculine, and I admit I had become very masculine for a long time, and my husband became feminine. You can't have two men in the house. It doesn't work very well like that. One's going to take a masculine feminine role. You got to see which one's there and learn to work with that. Thank God he's back to the masculine. I put my skirts back on. I'm like, yay. Let him go. Let him be the man. I'm good with it now. I had a time when I wasn't. I was like, I'll show you. But we go into that. We also go into our relationships with money. I had such a relationship with money. I really did. I never had enough. Can you imagine a millionaire and I'm thinking I don't have it and then I lose it? And then when I finally get it back, I finally make the money to pay off all the debt, and I go and make this investment. I thought I was insane. But I have to tell you something. We've made it back, and we've covered even more. It was so amazing. Why? Because my head shifted. Because I was no longer coming from deprivation. I was no longer coming from not being worthy. I was coming from I'm worthy, and I can have anything I want. I just need the tools to get there. That was what it was, and that's what you get. You get the tools so that you can have even more of what you want, and you can live the life that you always dreamed you can have, right? And to be able to be there. And during the retreat also, it's just so much. We have you work with nutritionists if people don't understand the language of your body. It's like understanding what food does to you. Do you know food actually causes as many emotions as our thoughts? And learning that, you work with a nutritional consultant to get there and to really define that as well. And for the men's program, we started a whole new men's program because men started asking for this, and I'm going to have you hear from one. And the men's program, we even brought in business coaching and stuff with Willard, who you'll hear from later on too, who's absolutely amazing as turnaround expert, and you'll hear a little bit about his accolades too. So what I'd like to do is have some of the people who've gone through the program just share with you, and then we'll tell you what we'll offer here, and then we'll break. Can I bring up, where's Judy? Oh, okay, let me bring up Brenda. And these are just some people that have gone through the program, just tell you where they were and where they are now, so.
It's always hard to go back to where you were. But I met Lisa, it's just been over a year now. What year are we in, 2015? I met her in 2014. And when I met her, I was living a hidden life. Nobody knew how messed up I was inside. If you saw me and met me, you would think I was the most positive person, had it together. But I was living a life of should. Somebody said it earlier. I should do this, no, I should do that, I should eat this, no, I shouldn't eat that, I should exercise, no, I shouldn't exercise, my body hurts, no, I should do this, no, I should do that. I had lived in a life of shoulds. And it had gotten to a point I gained, 40, I stopped weighing myself. I stopped buying clothes that had sizes on them because I had gained a lot of weight. And so I was at probably my lowest point when I met Lisa. And I was so battled with decisions in my head that I have 3 children, and they would come into the room and I wouldn't know if I should say hello or hi to them. And I really mean that. Like, is hello better or is hi better? I don't know what to do. And just a life of not liking who I was. Physically, I was not happy with my body, the way I looked. My relationship with my husband was nice. It was great. I can tell you now it's 100 times better. I was sexually molested as a child, so that played a lot into our relationship as well. And a year, so Lisa's course is 10 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks into our course, I can tell you I'm a changed woman, has been continuously changing. I live a life of abundance and choices now. I'm happy with the way I've looked. I've lost 40-some pounds, I guess. 6 sizes, so I'm doing the math, I'm not sure. But I'm confident with who I am. I love who I am. It has changed my relationship with my children. It has changed the relationship with my husband. We just celebrated 10 years and have had an amazing last year. And not only with most of all, my relationship with myself. I've learned to love me, and everything else has changed.
I'm going to have Judy come up and share. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing this morning? Great, right? It's amazing. This woman is amazing. Okay? The reason I came to Lisa, basically, I always knew I was a blessed person. I have a great husband, Jonas there. I have 2 great kids. And I was a workaholic. I work all the time. They talked about being perfectionist. Well, I was one of those. And it was never enough. Nothing was enough. I came to this country. I learned the language. I went to college. I graduated with honors. I did everything, worked for corporation, move up the ladder. But there was something. It was missing. And I never knew what was it. I knew that I was always, I was happy. I have my kids. I have my career. I work hard. Everything is good. All is good. But inside, something was missing. And I always felt, sad. And there was like a hole. And it was empty. And I have a hard time remembering that person, just so you know. But it's always very emotional. But it was okay. I just kept on going. Sometimes even when I was driving, I would just start crying. And I didn't know why. And then I thought, you know what, that people do that. That's normal. It's okay. So I just continue. But then what happened was when I have 2 kids, Amanda and Christopher. When Amanda, became a teenager, something really happened that impacted me, that I knew I needed to do something. And it was no longer acceptable just to let it go. She wasn't talking to me. We had conversation, very rarely conversation. And in one of those conversations, she told me, she said, I really should be a better mother. And I say, yes, I know I should have, but I did my best. And she said, no, you don't understand. You don't know me. You don't know me as a person. Every time you talk to me like, what's your grade? How's school? Have you ever asked me as a person, who I am? You never did that, Mom. You treat me like we're in an army here, and everybody, have to achieve, and everybody has to do this, and we have so many things to do. I'm tired. I'm not doing this anymore. And she just said that. I'm not doing this anymore. And she would have talked to me. And you know what I thought? I said, you know what? This is an ungrateful child. I worked so hard. I came to this country. We had nothing. Okay? And maybe I'm not a great achiever. I'm not like the VP or the president of, but I achieved a lot in my eyes, I thought. And this child does not appreciate what she has. And this is what I get. And so when I came to Lisa, I say, I need this for my daughter. I don't need it for me. I'm good. I'm okay. I'm a winner. Okay? But what happened was, by week number 2, I was like, what's going on? Like, I never knew I had these issues. I never knew that I felt like I was not enough. I was also molested as a child. And so that is something I never wanted to talk about. Like, nobody knew about that. And that's something I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to bury that. Like, that never happened. It never happened to me. But when, when I went through the program and I found all these things and what they meant and why I was trying to be like such an achiever and show everybody, like, yes, you think I'm not smart enough, or you watch me now, okay? Because if you can do it, I can do it better than you. Oh, and that was me. And that's what I wanted for my child, too. I want her to, you can prove yourself. Women, we need to rise on top. Stop of like being, step on. And this is what I want her to be. But she told me, I'm not like you. I want to be me. And I want you to be okay with that. And I didn't even know what that meant. What do you mean? Mm-hmm. What do you mean? And so what Lisa did for me, it's basically she taught me how to appreciate what I already had. Because sometimes we want to have more, and we want it to be richer, and we want it to, and it's good. It's good to have things. It's a good thing. It's not bad. But what about what you already have now? Are you grateful for what you have? Why did you feel empty, and why do you feel so depressed? Why are you doing depression? And if you're not happy with yourself, if you don't love yourself, then how are you supposed to teach your kids how to love themselves? You know what I mean? Like, how are you supposed to teach them that? So it's hard for me to remember who I was because I don't want to be there anymore,
you don't
ever.
need to go there.
But I know who I am today, and I have the best relationship with my daughter. We became best friend in a good way. Mm-hmm. She is willing to talk to me. She actually comes to me and says, Mom, we need to talk. And my husband went through the program as well because he felt like, you know what, if you're there with her, I wanted to have that too. Like, how are you doing that? How did she's talking to you now? Like, I want to know the secrets. Like, well, you need to talk to Lisa. Because this is what she did, and she really changed my life.
Thank you.
She really did change my life.
You changed you changed your life. You got it, sweetheart.
I was size 16. I had a high cholesterol. I have issues, really bad migraines. I have anything that you can think of. I lost, I don't even know how many pounds. 40 something. I went through from size 16 to size 6. Yeah. Now, and it's not about the size. It's really not about that. It's about
loving
how
yourself.
You feel,
yeah.
And once you love yourself, it's really, the pounds they just go away. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So I really want to commend Lisa because she can really, whatever it is that you're going through, it doesn't have to be the same thing, but she can help with anything.
Thank you, sweetheart.
She's a miracle.
So, and just on the sake of time, I'm gonna, I just want to hear from a man. But Roy, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you before. But will you just give a short experience for you, because. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you. Hi, how are you?
So I want to just say, Roy is the first gentleman who ever did the Find to FAB program. So I had to start changing things to get out of women because of a conversation we had about this. Go ahead.
All right. When the pain of not doing anything becomes greater than the pain of acting, we get up and move. And the good things in life don't come by chance; they come by change. When I met Lisa, I'd been up and down the roller coaster. I'd gotten so tired of who I was. I ate myself up to over 400 pounds. I tried drugs. I tried alcohol. I tried everything I could possibly do to get outside of myself because I just didn't like who I was anymore. The problem with all that is that everywhere I went, there I was, and no matter what I did, no matter how heavy I got, no matter how much I drank, no matter what I did to get outside of my head, everywhere I went, there I was. And so something had to give sooner or later. And ironically, I met Lisa at a time. I was going to a program. I was going to network a business that I was involved in. I met Lisa. I started just throwing up all over, all about what I was doing. I had no idea she was a speaker that was going to speak at the program. And then I sat there like this the whole time, in awe of her. I want to work with this woman. Well, we're going to be developing a program for men, but no, you don't understand. I need what you have, and I need it now. I'm comfortable enough in my masculinity. I can look at a program and have it say, fabulous woman. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to start wearing pink frilly tutus. I'll be all right. Married, 2 kids. I said I'll be okay with it, and I did. The program was amazing transformation from day one. It was about amazing transformation. Lisa challenges you to just be a better you, and that's and to be happy with who you are and where you are, and then grow from that. And it's been a tremendous transformation. I went through years of therapy, psychiatrists, psychologists. My wife said in 10 weeks working with Lisa, you made more changes in your life than 3 years of therapy. She noticed it, yeah, right, and and of course, when we talked about it, the first thing, I was all gung ho till she said, "This is how much it's going to cost." I said, "What? What? You expect?" Let me tell you, I would spend twice that in a second because it was the greatest investment in I'd spend money on everybody else. I had no problem spending money on my kids, my wife. But investing in myself, oh, heaven forbid I should do that, right? I can't justify that kind of money for an investment in me. What a fool I was, for too long. But because when I finally started investing in myself, the benefits, the payoff started to come much quicker. And it's been a tremendous opportunity, and I would recommend anybody, if you have an opportunity to spend some time with this woman, you'll benefit tremendously.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you.